Major Glenn Ignacio is a retired Air Force Special Operations Commander. Good to see you here in New York. It's nice to see you in person, who's been on our show a number of times, but he's here in New York today. You've provided us with military analysis. Maybe a quick thought on the hostage situation we were just discussing before we talk about the latest on the ground. And, you know, we've said it seemed forever like this deal is getting close on the hostages. How do you think it all plays out, and how long of a pause would be acceptable, do you think, to the Israeli military?
I think the idea about the hostage release in this situation would be the best. The 3 to 5 day pause is definitely questionable as far as how long it's going to be. One of the issues I think that's going to happen is you're going to have as much humanitarian assistance as you can get in appropriately. But if you look at the information warfare side, the public opinion and the international community is sort of not really behind Israel on this. So if you stop for 3 to 5 days and everybody is able to look at all the destruction and everything that's going on, what is the international community going to do, and what kind of pressure is going to be on Israel to possibly start the conflict back up? That'll be an interesting question.
Whether the ceasefire then would become more permanent. I mean, the Israeli comments in public have been, well, we're not going to have a ceasefire if unless the hostages are out. But if the hostages are laid out, then you're right, other people would come in and say, all right, let's have a ceasefire. Let's end this thing completely, right?
That's what I believe would be one of the things Israel will have to face.
All right, let's talk about what they are facing right now. And we can look at our maps, which I have the telestrator here in front of me. So, Glenn, when we've had him on, remotely, we've been talking about things like this. And this is the current advance, as we see it from the Israeli military, really surrounding Gaza City. What I want to talk about specifically are some of the challenges at the hospitals, okay? So in this particular map, you start to see a tunnel system as it is around certainly Al-Shifa Hospital and some of these other hospitals. The red lines under there are what intelligence thinks are the tunnels. What have you thought, we can switch to some of this because we have it as well, of some of the videos that the IDF has put out on this, and whether it provides the proof that there was a military operation and command center underneath this hospital? Good enough for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So to me, is you see the entire structure and how deep it is. So that's bomb-proof. And they've stopped because there's a bomb-proof, very significant steel door. So they believe that's booby-trapped. But not only that, is what happens if there's hostages behind it and it's booby-trapped? People could be harmed. So that's why they're holding short. Now, the interesting part about, if the hospital loses protected status as far as the international community and the law of war and conflict is concerned, is it states, and you can see this on the Red Cross website, any kind of direct or indirect support, it loses its status. So the question is it's more emotion that you see people's like, you found weapons, explosives. Technically, that means that's indirect assistance. But I think a lawyer really has to define, because there's a lot of judgment about, oh, that's not enough or that is enough. I think we really need to clear the emotions on that and get a real legal perspective on it.
Well, we're seeing the tunnel system now, and where that was outside, or the hospital itself inside the complex, and you go down, and the other video, that door, I think, is on the same video that you referenced, where they could look through this reinforced door at the bottom. Now, use the word emotion. You can understand the emotion of just regular people. You have a military background, but a lot of people don't, and they see literally babies in incubators. They had to rush out of a hospital, and they said, well, they're going in there with guns to a hospital. We understand maybe it was a command center. But this is a tough situation for Israel. I'm certainly not making excuses for how they're handling it, but they're in a spot where no matter what, you're going to be criticized. Was there another option that you could think of? Is this their only option? How about the way they're actually handling this?
I think they're handling it methodically, which they needed to do. I mean, so you've heard different terms about raiding and so forth. That sounds pretty intense, right?
Yeah.
But they went through it methodically, clearing room for room to make sure Hamas wasn't there. They didn't go through throwing, concussion grenades and so forth. They went through methodically, and they're going to take care of a threat there. If it lost protective status, they could have actually struck the hospital, and they didn't do that. So that's good. But I thought that the process they followed was appropriate. And honestly, emotionally, that would be the best way to not have collateral damage and accidentally kill somebody you don't want to, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, there's two sides to this war. You have the kinetic warfare, which Israeli is doing very well. That's weapons on target, and you have the information warfare. And I got to tell you, Hamas is winning that, because you may have the horrific events of October 7th, but that was one day, and as bad as it is, every day people are starting to see the injuries, and that's what's really happening.
Images like this, we're showing these premature babies, and that's not only here, but on all the coverage around the world, and it certainly has an impact on people as they watch it. All right, we appreciate your analysis. I'm glad you stopped by here in New York when you were in town. So Major Glenn Ignacio with us once again.